My name is Catherine Toomey, and thank you for joining Voices of Vision Stories of Soul. We have a series here that celebrates the dreamers, healers, and creators shaping a more conscious world. Through heartfelt conversation, we uncover wisdom, purpose, and magic that moves the soul and inspires transformation. And we've just put together an interview series to talk to people that have inspired me. So this is a collection of amazing people that are in the social media and online space. And I've maybe done workshops or just become friends or there's all sorts of ways that we've come about. And today our guest is Zapheria Bell, and she is helping women in midlife and stops or guides them through the spiraling emotions of perimenopause and menopause. And we're going to be talking about her 5 passages of menopause. And I'd like to introduce Zapheria Bell.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a guest with you.
Yes, thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.
Hmm.
We've spent quite a lot of time talking about midlife. And the
Yeah.
way that you talk about it is to say that midlife isn't a crisis, it's a calibration.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I feel like we have been, as a collective, programmed to believe that midlife and I guess perimenopause, menopause, but especially midlife for women is like this time that we go into a decline. It's like we've been told that I don't know, your body starts to change and your face changes and you shouldn't look like that. You should be trying to look younger, apparently. And that, we're no longer as relevant, I guess, is what we're told. And to me, actually, midlife and menopause is the most exciting, incredible passage of our life, really. It's very challenging at times, but it's also this opportunity it's a reclamation. It's really this opportunity to be like, I am, I am me, and I don't need to be anybody else anymore. I get to just show up and
Yeah.
be who I am, and how freeing is that?
I'm going to introduce you a little bit more. So the estimated direct cost to Australian businesses that is, I checked, is $10 billion a year. And that is conduced from brain fog, reduced concentration, fatigue, sleeping disruption, mood swings, anxiety, hot flushes, discomfort. 83% of women say it affects their ability to work effectively. So I'll just say that figure again, $10 billion a year. So it's
Yeah.
actually a real surprise to me that there isn't a little bit more of the economics being channeled into the process of enabling women to be prepared for this juncture, because once we turn 50, we're basically still going to be working for another 15 to 20 years, is that right, of our life,
Yeah.
of the retirement, when of course we give over to the tax dollar and all of that. So you would think that if you times 15 years by half the population, that's a huge amount of working time that we could be just creating preventative measures. um
Yeah.
yeah, like, I mean, I feel so lucky myself, having had people like you to hold my hand from the very beginning, because I was right on the tip of discovering my kind of menstrual cycle and the beginnings of the womb healing and that kind of scenario, and that's how I've come to know you, definitely. So I felt like, oh wow, I finally made this discovery. And then, like you say, it was like, oh, but now the door is closing, just like it seems to do, for so many different junctures in life, I guess.
Mm.
So you're a powerful guide for women wanting to claim their truth and step deeply into an embodied soul-led life. So Zapheria, you've been coaching women for 12 years. We met as a student in your emotional clearing workshop, which I do want to talk about because I love cognitive rewiring work. So when we met, you were living in Bali.
Yes.
And then I've got like cut to all the programs you've been running, and then menopause hits. Suddenly we're all talking about estrogen levels, progesterone and testosterone. And now you say they're not just cycle hormones, they are major neuroregulators
Hmm.
that shape mood stability, memory, cognition, motivation, drive, emotional processing, stress resilience. So, definitely all the things that you want when you hit that peak, which most women do, like hit this peak where they're, no matter where they are and no matter what they've done, they suddenly go, oh my God, look at everything I've done. I'm amazing. And then they climb up onto that rock and then it's like, oh, and then all the energy depletes. And then the physical relationship to your own body starts to deplete. And like it doesn't matter, even if it's the tiniest little thing like your doctor saying, you need to lower your cholesterol or something like that. It's still a wound, and you think, oh, I thought I was healthy or perfect, or I thought only old people got this kind of direction. Like, what did you say, cholesterol to me? Like that was a tough one for me because I eat what I like. I do not diet. I just don't have the willpower, and I myself just feel like I am on this earth to eat delicious stuff, and I'm not going to change. It is be a little bit bulkier by the time I tell you. It was like a dream in my 30s because I was quite skinny. And I thought, when I'm 40 or something, when I have a cake body, one of those bodies that look like, and then it happened. And so I'm actually very grateful. I think we just had a bit of lag on the computer there. I'm really sorry. I
Yeah,
guess we're
we did.
going all
That's
over
okay.
the world. Apologies.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, we're talking about serotonin, dopamine, that sort of thing. So, could you tell us a little bit about? Because I know from the study and the research point of view, you've got a lot of information that you can tell us
Mm.
about.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I guess I want to touch on the piece that you shared earlier about like the cost that is like the cost that midlife or perimenopause and menopause is to corporate in all different countries. And yes, it is kind of fascinating that that has not had money put into it for medical research, but also, I mean, just medical research for women, full stop, has really been very low, unfortunately, and we're hoping that that's beginning to change. But one of the big things as we're coming into this midlife period and as our hormones are beginning to change, actually our identity is shifting. Our our brain is literally rewiring. And yes, on like a biochemical level, everything is beginning to shift as well. And so if we can look at menopause, perimenopause, and just midlife in general as like a holistic approach instead of looking at, I guess, what we're really showing on social media right now is like, oh, women are going to hit menopause and then they're going to get hot flushes, and there'll be hot flushes and they'll be mad. They're the kind of the things I guess that we are really showing instead of people actually looking at like, well, why? What is actually going on? What's happening is a full recalibration in a woman's body as she's shifting away from, she's spent her entire life living for other people. Whether she did or did not have children, biologically, her body was designed to every month be questioning, like, am I having a baby? I'm not having a baby. Am I having a baby? I'm not having a baby. Whether that's what was ever happening in her mind, it doesn't matter. Her body has been cycling like that, and her hormones have been cycling like that. And then she gets this period in her life where that's no longer a focus for her body. And it's like we get put into this container of, oh, like she can't breed anymore, so therefore she goes over in this box. Instead of the realization that our entire, like how fascinating that our entire nervous system and our brain rewire themselves and we have a new identity that comes in. So we stop being this person over here who masked and people pleased and did everything for everybody. We go through this shift and actually we become the wisdom keepers. Shame that we don't actually honor or acknowledge that anymore in women, but we do. And part of that is this change in biochemistry and is this change in brain and nervous system rewiring, which, yes, it impacts dopamine and serotonin and like everything gets impacted because estrogen, your main, I guess, the star of the show when it comes to menopause, even though we have to also look at progesterone and testosterone, most people are looking at estrogen, which is actually three different hormones, but let's just call them estrogen for the sake of easy conversation. When your estrogen begins to decline and everybody thinks that it's just from your ovaries and it's just a sex hormone, it's actually in your brain. Like your brain and your entire nervous system are actually feeding off and living off the estrogen that your body is producing. So when your body stops producing it, your brain is kind of looking for it. Your brain is like, where's the estrogen? Where's the estrogen? Hey, it's meant to come at this time of the month and it's not coming. And so your brain starts to kind of haywire a little bit until it catches up and realizes, oh, I can't rely on this monthly cycle that I was having anymore. It's best that now neuroplasticity, thankfully, allows us to completely rewire our brain so that now I don't have to look for my monthly hit of estrogen. Instead, I can start to peter out. But while that's happening, it's almost like it's almost like going through a withdrawal. Your whole body starts to go through a withdrawal and your brain starts to go through a withdrawal and all of your biochemistry is going through a withdrawal. So it can look kind of crazy and it can feel pretty darn uncomfortable, unfortunately, for a lot of women. But for me, the gift is that we are literally shifting our identity. And that for humanity, if we can start to look at it as the gift that it is, then we really start to see our women as elders again and as wisdom keepers again, and how incredible we are that we can rewire our brain and our entire nervous system.
Yes, I think something really special that is going on for a lot of women right now, and that is that there is this little kind of biosphere of women like you that are informing the other women of what's going on. Even just from the book category point of view, if you go back 20 years, there's like 25 books on menopause. If you go back 40 years, there's like two books or one and a half books on menopause. If you go back 60 years, there's like really no information. And I guess that comes from more women actually being in the medical profession. And so there's half of those doctors are actually facilitating some sense of journeying. But it really is the trickling down effects. Like I'm not even going to lie. Like for myself, I felt so lucky because when I had my personal experience, it was the dark ages. And I knew inside my brain I was banging on the door going, no, I can do better than this. Like this is, but also to be fair, there are a lot of amazing programs and built up retreat style programs that are existing out there to inform women about menopause. So there is those different kinds of tiers of relating to things that we go through in life. So I do want to touch on that we are very, very lucky in some way. But it'd be really good to be approaching it for all women in all sort of economic situations. And that I want to talk to you about how your work spans the soul embodiment work that you do. We're talking about spiritual leadership. How do you define the core mission or your core mission of today?
So I feel like as I've evolved, so has well, externally, it looks like my mission is changing, but really it's always been the same. For me, I am here, or my soul's purpose is here to support women and guide women through our like transitions and our transformations that we experience in our life. And I guess so when you and I met, that was much more like in, and it's still in the womb space, just not as publicly. But for me right now, what it is about really supporting women in their midlife and menopause own this passage so that they can step into their embodied spiritual leadership. And one of the things I guess that I have noticed from the like, spending 2 decades, I guess, in kind of spiritual communities is that we have not often, there's not a lot of people who are really looking at menopause as the spiritual initiation that it is and the depth of leadership that we step into. There are a lot of people who are teaching about like what the hormones are doing and HRT or not, or all of those kind of conversations. But to me, it's like, how do we embody the realization that midlife women become the natural leaders? That's what we were always supposed to do in every area of our lives. If we look kind of way back when we were maybe, to be honest, a little smarter, when we all lived together in community, and you would go to the wise women in the community, and that is who you would ask everything. And she would be the spiritual leader of the community. She would also be the one who would decide when the whole community would need to move for better food or for better safety, or because she felt it, because she was connected to the moon and to the waters, and they said to her, move. And if she was the elder of the community, everybody would listen. So to me, it's about embodying or equipping women to reclaim and remember that realization that it is when we do become the leaders, it is when we do become the spiritual leaders, the wise woman, the crone, the elder, the medicine woman, however you want to look at it. And we lost that because if you look back in, it's actually not even that, it's not even 100 years ago, I can't remember exactly, but women were literally told that we were hysterical and locked away in mental asylums when we came into menopause because we were changing and we were suddenly like, oh, she's crazy. Let's just lock her up. And so then it's no wonder that our grandmothers didn't talk about it. And yeah, there weren't many books, there weren't many publications because everybody was so focused on she's just crazy, lock her up. She's hysterical, lock her up, put her in the institution. And they only really started to close like in our generation. So then when it came to, I guess, like our mothers, slowly things started to change, but not a lot because there was a lot that happened, I guess, around hormones, and there was some incorrect information that was put out into the media that like kind of created a big hype of like, oh my gosh, throw away all of your hormones because it's going to make you have, it's going to give you cancer. And so this generation is actually the first generation that can talk about it and that can, run retreats or speak in leadership spaces about it or speak really openly and start to make the shift and the change that I am really excited about. And I think I'm excited to be part of the generation that's like, how amazing that we get to be part of that generation that is changing something so big.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. I've done a lot of work on that. Like, when you talk about how women have come from this, 19th century approach to institutions and all that kind of stuff, and then how that eventually developed into ownership. Whoa, we could own property. And then, we only got the credit card. As a woman, we're only able to own a credit card from the 1970s onwards. So that to
Yeah.
me is just, it's beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
Because, I'm of this generation. Your approach to womb work and sacred feminine embodiment has been awesome. Just like to say awesome. Want to use the word awesome. We're going to modern it up. I've loved the transformation from the spiral work, and I've loved the deep love that you've taken, and you've taken me on the journey with you. How are women more powerful when they share their hot flushes and all their symptoms together?
So actually, so for women, 49% of women in midlife say that they are lonely. That's huge. So half of us are lonely. 9 out of 10 are suffering from mental health changes, and 1 in 10 are suicidal, feel suicidal through perimenopause and menopause. So simply us coming together and sharing our wisdom and our experience and realizing that we're not separate because we currently are so divided into our little homes on our own, our little tiny bubble, and the only connection we have is like to go on social media and see all the different symptoms that everybody else is having to know we're not alone. But when we share, when we're able to speak about it, it brings us together and it makes us realize that we're not alone. And therefore, we get to shift the loneliness epidemic. We get to make women realize that actually, yes, your mental health might be changing for a period of time, but it doesn't mean you're broken or something's wrong or that you have to go on antidepressants necessarily or that, you're going crazy. Because when we talk about it, women are supposed to women are supposed to weave our stories. We
Yes,
are storytellers. We always have been storytellers, and we are supposed to sit together and I tell you my story and you tell me your story, and I realize that I'm not alone, and you realize that you're not alone. And then we weave that story together, and that story becomes like with storytelling. You've told yours, I've told mine. The next generation is telling a combination of that story. So it's not actually your story or my story. It's
yes.
the woman's story that we've weaved together. And so when we talk about I'm having hot flushes and oh my gosh, I've got a sweaty upper lip and my eyebrows feel like they've turned into a waterfall and my insides are on fire. If I'm sharing that with you, then that brings us closer. And
Yes.
also as we come closer together, we realize that we're not alone. So I
That's
feel
exactly.
like it's
I've
so
watched
important.
when you're part of the 3D environment or a 3D 4D environment, the online space, and then I'm watching you do a workshop and there's like sweat coming off your elbows and you're just like, no, I can handle it, I can do this. And I'm like, oh my, like, goodness me, there was so much bravado that you were able to just put out because you were just going to go through it, you were just going to do it right there, and you have no idea because I'm like I just think every drop of sweat of a person is because I'm such a science freak. I'm you know of that age where everything feels like a specimen or like something to go under the microscope. I have that sort of aspect to me, so I do kind of reimagine that as a real kind of training. And I remember like my experience of being in Bali, which is another reason why I have such a familiar feeling when I speak to you, is because you've lived in Bali, which I think is amazing. I have spent some amazing time in Bali, and a lot of it has been around growing and the womb work, and um, so yeah, I really enjoy that pattern of how you're going through something, and then you're going to just be right at the front of the information and the knowledge to share. I do want to ask though, there doesn't why is there not as much emotional clearing that I'm used to seeing, or cognitive rewiring that I'm used to seeing in the work that you're doing now?
Mm. So it's not that I've stopped doing it. I'm not publicly talking about it very much. And part of the reason is because my kind of soul's mission has suddenly expanded and grown so big that I'm actually in the middle of building a women's network, so a global women's network. So there's I guess two things that happen. One is that really when menopause came on very, very strong for me, I disappeared offline. And like kind of through perimenopause, I was there. Like you just said, I was like sweating on camera and I was like in it and it didn't matter. And then when menopause hit, I disappeared for a little while and I was having a very difficult time myself and internally. So I went offline, I stopped working, I just completely went inside and I created from there. That's where I created the 5 passages of menopause. It was very much a dark night of the soul, disappear. To be brutally honest with you, I almost chose that I didn't want to be alive anymore. I was like, that's kind of how deep I went. And when I came back out of that hole, as we do, there was this realization that I'm here to build a movement. And so right now, my energy is getting focused on building this movement that I'm actually just about to launch probably in a week or 2 weeks. So it's taken all of my all of my energy and my love. And once that's up and running, you will see more of the emotional clearing come back. So it's not that I feel like I've kind of evolved past it. It's just sitting here waiting.
Yeah, yeah, you know, I mean, I like that because some of my best memories, especially, you know, when I basically switched on my computer and realized I was going to be sitting in my lounge room for 4 months during the COVID, during that time, I feel like that really just started something for me. So I just feel like it must have really, there must have been really something in that kind of work that was part of a healing process that I hadn't actually come across before.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so okay, so bold, thought-provoking, sovereign sisterhood, that's what Zapheria is doing. How are you inspiring women to live? Well, I think you're inspiring me. Don't answer this question. I'll do the answer. So how are you inspiring women to live and lead their true expressive life? So I think you do that by having progression, by being like a coach. There just must be tons of coaches out there, but you're kind of been my coach for years and years and years. Like I've got so many memories, and I'm like an elephant. And I just the memories that I have, if I can contain those memories, and they can include other people in the universe, it does indeed make me feel less lonely. And I'm not really a lonely person per se. I'm a Capricorn, and I've noticed a lot of energy around myself now is a reminder that I do like my own space, or being like, you know, filling up my own space. But I think that comes from our other energy, which is to talk and to talk to people and to have that energy of, like you say, storytelling and telling a story is really helping me to kind of, you know, get some satisfaction out of any kind of spiritual progress that I feel like I'm making. Can only go so far from a business point of view. You can only sort of get so far on that, because also I don't want to just be addicted to work. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. So what you're doing, it's a courageous call for women to rise, soften, and feel not quite so alone, which I think is incredible and fantastic. And what's the best way to stay educated when all the way until, you know, that last kind of um, sorry, until that last
Mhm.
sort of, you know, menstrual cycle is taking place?
Mm.
Um, I feel like for me it was turning back the clock. And then talking about HRT with my doctor, and that was really beneficial to me. Um, Turning back the clock was how I imagined it, and doing quite a bit of inner child work for me, because I had such an incredible early childhood. So just kind of, you know, I think I'm more of a scared of dying kind of person, not a, like, I don't get so sad generally. Um, but yeah, like I get more scared of immediate things, creating something. Like I'm more like, oh, I hope I don't make myself have an car accident or something like that. So I'm more kind of visceral in that way. But what would you say is the best way? How can we stay educated? Tell us about your programs. Tell us what you have, what you've been offering for the last 6 months.
Yeah, sure. So I have a free podcast, the Pause private podcast, and that's really one of the ways that I'm supporting women in just understanding the 5 passages of menopause, which is really what kind of birthed through me and what I created through that dip. And for me, the 5 passages of menopause is to understand like the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect of menopause. There's enough people who are going to support you on whether, you know, HRT or not HRT, and I do have free resources on that as well. But I have a quiz called the 5 Passages of Menopause quiz that a lot of women have been taking to show them which passage are you in, or passages, because you're never in just one until the end. Which passage are you in? And therefore, what are the things that you can be expecting to notice, I guess, on this mental, emotional, spiritual level? What can you be noticing? That for me, that education helps women to not feel so crazy and to not feel so alone, because you can go on Instagram and learn about hot flushes and like what's, you can learn the 167 different like symptoms that are happening by going to ChatGPT or Google or Instagram or anything like that. But to me, yeah, the 5 passages of menopause is helping women to really understand, like, are you in the cracking? Are you in the very, very, very early phases of perimenopause where maybe you don't even really know what's going on and your foundation seems to be kind of like cracking a little bit and your identity or a little bit like, something just feels a bit wrong. I don't really know what. Or you're in the burning, that's when it's pretty obvious. You've got like usually hot flushes going on and inflammation and all the things happening. A lot of women know the burning. But the next is the pause. Are you in the place where either it can seem like you're in a deep, dark depression or where you need to go into a spiritual hibernation for a little while to allow the recalibration, like your body is craving the quiet? Or are you
Yes.
already starting to come through to the remembering where you're having this realization of like, I'm a pretty amazing person, actually. I remember that I am really powerful and I have a lot of wisdom and I've had these amazing life experiences. And then we come to the rising, which is like, oh, this is me. This is who I am. And that's when we step into leadership on whatever level that might be. Spiritual, physical, doesn't matter. We step into leadership
Yes.
from that realization of like I am now this full version of me. My identity is really solid and I have less F's to give because take it or leave it, like me or don't like me. And so for me, when women understand which of those passages they are in, that level of education I think is really grounding and psychologically very supportive.
Yes. I think that the support that you've put together, what the appreciation that I can have as someone that's kind of come through a bit of a print factory, whether it's been working in corporate or doing, getting into TV sort of ads or the photography side of production. What you offer is a really high level of sophistication. And I think that's missing. I think that there's, like you say, there's tons of stuff where you can just go into Chemist Warehouse and there'll be like, aisles full of whatever, like in Australia, that is. There'll be tons of the stuff. But I think the most important takeaway is this storytelling and also feeling of connectedness. I think that's a really important positive step, a feeling of, warmth and depth and like sincerity coming from, knowledge and just like you're basically a knowledge factor of this topic. I was so excited when I saw that. It was like a giant meme of is it like a 97-page workshop that you do have on that HRT, which is incredible because, yeah, like, I mean, I wish just for all the people that are going to be going through these perimenopause phases, for them, that they just get to look into this information because it's colorful and bright. And I know that your programs are really sophisticated and just really helped me to grow up a little bit and made me realize that I could become an adult without it being part of my work life, because that's a bit of a dogma for me. The only way to feel adult is to have, a corporate, visceral look, feel, act, performance, and so to take a step back after, of course, I'd had my, mental institution of coming back and not working and, what am I going to do with my life? But then kind of, coming into finding that there is a place where we can walk into leadership and find success and find passion-driven people. And I'm just so excited and appreciative that you've come on and talked to me today in this environment, in this space. And yeah, I'd just like to redirect if you have anything more that you wanted to add.
No, I think like I will definitely share with you so you can share with your listeners like a couple of free resources that they can find in the show notes. So that quiz that I've mentioned. And when you go through the quiz, you also get like a pretty big workbook that explains everything in more detail, and also the Pause podcast. And for me, like, they're my gifts to women at the moment that are just like, I don't know, feel connected, feel educated, begin to really understand what is happening for you. Because my biggest message to women really in this midlife phase is this is not a decline. And don't let yourself or anyone else tell you, usually we're our worst enemies on that. Don't let anyone tell you or yourself tell you that it's a decline, because it's not. It's time for a full reclamation. And as you come out the other side of the challenges of menopause, you really do step into the most amazing time of your life, and like allow yourself to live that and embody it and own it.
Thank you so much, Zapheria, for all that you do. It's so needed. There's just my cup is full. I was so full of gratitude all the time. Every time I speak to you or see you or go back and look over the programs that I have with you, I'm always thrilled. I'm always excited. I always get good bounce. And I thank you for that. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for listening. And as part of the process of myself and accepting I'm not perfect, I did forget to mention that we would like to take a moment to show our respects to the Bunurong people, part of Eastern Kulin Nation. We show respects to all elders past, present and emerging. And I just want to thank Zapheria for joining us today, and have a beautiful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.